Greetings, it's Monday, July 26th, and hopefully you got some rest last night because things were a lot calmer. We are looking at a potential for more southwest winds kind of across the lower half of British Columbia today, with gusts in the higher elevations coming from the southwest. There could be a few areas where winds curl around the mountains, start coming from the north. It'll really depend on what the terrain is in your local area. I'd also like to show you the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, and it's a valuable resource. It doesn't display as well on video, that's why I don't show it as much, but it definitely has some attributes. But first, let's take a quick look around the province. I've gone to DRIVEBC. We're looking at the big bar cam. You can go to the links below in the description, find road updates, and if you select the cams, they will display on around the province, and you get a chance to look at what's going on the ground, and they're updated fairly regularly. We're looking north here and we see a lot of haze up there towards 70 Mile House and the Chasm area, but then jumping to the northeast, this is Sheridan Cam looking west. Looks like a beautiful day. If you were going to have a picnic, that's probably the area to head to. Then over on Highway 97 at the Begbie Cam adjacent to the Flat Lake Fire, their cam is out, so we can't get a view right now. Down in Cache Creek, looking east, very hazy. This is near the Tremont Creek Fire. And then if we go down to Osoyoos, we're looking east and kind of southeast, I think. So the fire that's moved up the hillside, that would be off the left-hand side of the screen. And we can see some haze from that, and as well there's fires a little further south in Washington State. They may be blowing smoke up into the lower Okanagan. Let's go now to NASA's Fire Information for Resource Management System, FIRMS. The link is in the description below. We're taking a look at the fire that started around the Lytton area. It's moved eastward on both sides of the Thompson River and then northeast just to the south of Spence's Bridge. These are the hotspots from yesterday and now today. So I'm seeing less intensity in some of these clusters. There was a reduction in the new infrared generated over the last 24 hours. There actually seems to be a bit of a push westwards. It's retracted from the area around Nicola River. I am seeing a couple of VWIRS hotspots that appear to have moved further north. You'll want to check with the ground report. The link to BC Wildfire Service is in the description below. You'll need that. It'll be vital if you're in the area and you want to know what's happening and the situation is on the ground. We've zoomed into the area around Nicola River. This is on the eastern flank of this fire, and into today. Definitely a reduction in the amount of infrared, and again, it does appear to have pulled back from that eastern movement. We've zoomed out. The fire south of Spence's Bridge is at the lower portion of the screen. We're taking a look at the area to the north. That's the Tremont Creek Fire, just to the east of Ashcroft and Cache Creek, rolling into today. And again, more reduction in infrared. There's still intensity in some of those heavier clusters, and with winds picking up in the afternoon, we will have to be watchful of this. We're moving a little bit north now, north of Highway 1. We can see Flat Lake at the upper portion of the screen, and then Bonaparte in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. This is infrared from yesterday and now today. Again, more reduction. However, there is some of that creep eastward on the Bonaparte area. That's moving east of Chris Creek around an area called Beaver Hut Lake. We're zooming into the Flat Lake fire zone. This is the infrared from yesterday and now today. Fewer new hotspots along that northern flank and on the eastern flank of this fire close to Highway 97, but there is some movement to the southwest and on the western flank, just very subtly. I'm still getting alerts from the NASA's fire alert system from the southern flank of this fire, even though I'm subscribed to the chasm area. So there is some overlap, and I'm picking up these new hotspots in my email. We've moved to a screen looking at that Bonaparte area a little closer up. We see that large cluster moving eastward around the Beaver Hut Lake area, and then north at the top of the screen we see those clusters north of Vedette and to the east of Young Lake. Now rolling into today. Definitely an improvement around the Young Lake area, and we are seeing an overall reduction in the infrared. Still that intense cluster that's moving east of Chris Creek. So again, watch out for those southwest winds in the afternoon. We're moving eastward to the Shuswap, where we can see Adams Lake just left of center, Sicamous in the lower portion of the screen, along with Mabel Lake. Infrared from yesterday and now today. I'm not seeing a lot of newly generated infrared, but what I am seeing is this expansion kind of on both sides of these fire flanks, both to the northwest and to the southeast, almost as if winds are coming in, fanning out, and just expanding the fire zones without creating a lot of new infrared. We've moved south now. This is the White Rock Lake fire. We're south of Highway 97, south of Monty Lake, and southwest of Westwold and Falkland. We're looking at the infrared from yesterday and now today. Definitely expansion on that southern flank, moving eastward from those southwest winds yesterday. Some push northward towards Monty Lake. There's large forested blocks in this area, so again, we'll have to watch for those wind gusts in the afternoon. We're now looking at southern BC, Lower Arrow Lakes on the left-hand side of the screen, Kimberley on the right-hand side of the screen, Nelson's about in the middle. This is yesterday's infrared and now today's. I saw a tiny bit of movement west on that fire near Boswell on the eastern side of Kootenay Lake, but most of all, a reduction in the infrared generally. Now we're moving to the South Okanagan. At the top of the screen we can see that fire movement to the east of Skaha Lake, and as well we can see movement east of Osoyoos and Oliver. This was yesterday's heat detections and now today's. Definitely more intensity on these northeastern flanks. Hopefully they will not catch those southwest winds on the upper elevations and start to move quicker. We have to watch this. There may also be control strategies at work by wildfire crews, so a ground report in the links below at BC Wildfire Service. And we are looking at information from all 4 satellite systems, so 4 times the data, just to give us a range of any expansion. We've moved to a screen from Windy. We're looking at the southern portion of the province, and we can see these southwest winds, especially on the higher elevations, up around 10 kilometers an hour, 15 kilometers an hour. It's only moving about 5 kilometers an hour in those blue shaded areas where it's calmer. And that's what we see around Chasm, 5 kilometers an hour from the south. And then it's showing 9 kilometers from the south around Young Lake. And then we're seeing around 2 kilometers an hour from the southwest in the Oliver area. And because of the mountains, those winds could come over top and then curl around and appear to come from the north. And looking at the forecast, strong winds in the afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m., upwards of 40 kilometers an hour. And then perhaps shifting on Wednesday and in the evenings as temperatures cool down, winds may start to change direction. So watch out for those gusts in the afternoon. They could be localized. Some areas may see increased winds. Others, it may be rather calm. So it really depends on your specific location. Check out the links below and zoom in and see what to anticipate. Let's take a look now at the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System. This is put out by Natural Resources Canada. It has a lot of detail. In fact, I could spend hours looking at these interactive maps. The link is in the description below. The menu is on the left-hand side. Click on Interactive Map. You'll look at a screen something like this. And make sure you adjust the date. This system may actually work better on your smartphones and iPhones. The NASA system can be a bit clunky. You should immediately see the fire danger in the area, and on this map we can see up in the north a lot of green and blue. That indicates low fire hazard, whereas in the central portion of the province there is a high fire hazard. There's a menu in the upper right portion of the screen. It's called Overlays. You can take off the fire hazard indications and then turn on the M3 hotspots and the season to date hotspots, so we can see where the fire has progressed and where the newest heat detections are. Now, the M3 hotspots are very unique. They triangulate the data from the VWIRS, the NOAA system, and the MODIS system, and I believe this gives us a more accurate representation of where fire actually is. They're also color-coded, so you'll know when the most recent hotspots were generated. If you scroll down, there's also a description on how this information was collected, and it's using the same satellite systems as the firms. It's also fascinating to explore. Who knew that there was the town of Niagara in BC, or Zamora? And we can see here there's infrastructure in Zamora, maybe 10 buildings, and as well we can see elevation lines, and pretty much every river and creek and roadway is labeled. I believe it's more fine-tuned than the NASA firms display, but I used the firms system because it just shows up better on video. There's a little bit more clarity. Here we're looking at infrared detections from yesterday and where the intensity is. This of course has changed. And comparing it to the Canadian Wildland Fire Map, here we can actually see a more precise positioning of those hotspots, and if you knew the area you could almost predict what tree was being affected. We're looking at the area south of Spence's Bridge along Highway 8 in the Nicola River. Now we're moving over to Osoyoos. We're looking at hotspots moving east along Long Joe Creek, and we can see where movement may have come up that gully and moved up to the top of the plateau. The Anarchist Crow's Nest Highway is to the south, and if we zoom in we can see enough detail to get a more qualified position of the fire. We're moving north to the White Rock Lake area. We're looking at hotspots that were detected on eastward movement towards Highway 97, Westwold and Falkland. If we zoom in, we can see it's moved to the north of the valley, and it's continuing to push in a northeastward direction. Zooming in further, we can see infrastructure dots, those small gray dots, and I'm seeing one hotspot just to the right of center on the screen that appears to have crossed southeastwards over the road. This system also uses a bit different scale. We can see perhaps a more accurate representation of southwestern BC here, and we can see how large these fire zones are in comparison to the greater Vancouver area in the lower left portion of the screen. Massive amount of territory consumed in these fire zones. We're going to move back up to the Lytton area. This is looking east. Now all these dark dots are season to date hotspots, so they're generally out. The stars indicate active hotspots, and we can see how the fire progressed eastwards. If we zoom into the center of the screen, this is around the 2 Mile Creek area. We're seeing darker dots, those indicate season to date, and then lighter gray dots, those indicate structures. Let's jump up north to the Flat Lake Fire area. We're looking at Highway 97 heading north. We're looking at 83 Mile Lake in the lower left portion of the screen, and here we can see how close the fire came to Highway 97 and what sort of activity was concentrated around there. Mount Begbie is just right of center of the screen along Highway 97, and that gives us an indication of why they may have transmission difficulties at this time. So I hope this gives you more information on the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System. It's very valuable. If I was in the bush and I had access to the internet, this would probably be the system I carry around. It just gives me more detail and more accurate positioning. I hope you have a great day today. Hopefully the winds are calm in your area, but looking here at 70 Mile House, winds could peak in the afternoon coming from the southwest and then potentially turn around tomorrow and get more of those north winds. So do be aware, follow the updates on BC wildfire. Here I've hit the compare button and we're looking at a lot of predictions, and that's good to find an average and get a better guesstimate on what may happen in the weather forecast. We'll have to continue to watch for eastward movement on many of these fire flanks, and I am seeing temperatures starting to rise. Could go up to 33 in the 70 Mile House area midweek. These guys don't have internet. All they do is chew. So be safe. Keep in touch with friends and neighbors.
There you are. What are you doing?
Shouldn't be in there. Be up the mountain. Let people know where you're going if you're in the bush. Thank you for watching, and keep your nose to the breeze.